Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Plan Commission ARB for October 4th. Anyone in the audience, if you wish to speak, raise your hand and you'll be let in at the appropriate time. Let's start with a roll call.
Steve Lichtenfeld.
Here.
Carolyn Gatis.
Here.
Ira Berkowitz.
Here.
Linda Fate.
Here.
George Heddich.
Here.
David Gibson. Robert Denlow. Helen DeFate.
Okay.
Did I call you Helen?
Yes,
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'm here once.
Okay.
Okay. We'll move on to old business. And do we know if 448 Edgewood Drive is here? I couldn't tell from the phone number.
I cannot tell either. If the applicant is here for that project, could you please raise your hand and then I can recognize you.
Kind of hear
Not
a
seeing
voice.
any.
Yeah. Can you guys hear a distant voice though? A man's voice? Like somebody's on a phone, only a phone.
I do not hear anything.
452 area code.
Is anyone in the audience here for 448 Edgewood Drive? Well,
I know
since we
Anissa
don't know,
spoke-
how about if we move on to the first item in new business? That's 8140 Kingsbury. And do we have anyone there?
Okay, we
Mike.
do have one hand raised. Yep.
Okay, good.
No, I was muted. Okay. Yes, I'm
Okay.
Mike Thompson, the architect for it.
I did not hear what you said.
Oh, I'm Mike Thompson, the architect for it.
Okay. Thank you. Let's start off with the staff report. Anissa?
Okay. Sure. The project address is 8140 Kingsbury Boulevard. This is for the review of the design and materials associated with the construction of a two-car garage. The site is located on the south side of Kingsbury Boulevard between North Forsyth and North Brentwood. In August of 2021, the ARB approved the demolition of the existing home and the construction of a single-family residence. The existing detached 343 square foot rear yard garage was approved to remain. During demolition of the existing home, the detached garage was demolished without approval. The applicant is seeking the board's approval to construct a new 408 square foot garage in a similar location as the previous garage. The proposed garage is similar in style and utilizes the same building materials and colors as the existing home. The regulations of the Clayton Gardens Urban Design District stipulate that the height of accessory structures shall be limited to 1.5 stories or 16 feet above the existing grade of the site. The proposed garage conforms to this requirement at 15 feet, 11 inches in height. The proposed garage also meets the impervious coverage requirements of the Clayton Gardens UDD. Primary building material is a top grade brick to match the approved home, with secondary stucco being located on the rear elevation. The proposed garage door is a dark brown raised panel door with tempered glass and will be flanked by 2 gas lanterns on the ends. All windows will be metal clad with a wood interior. The project as proposed is in conformance with the requirements of the R2 single family dwelling district, the architectural review guidelines, and the Clayton Gardens UDD. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed garage is compatible with the existing home and surrounding neighborhood, and our recommendation is to approve as submitted.
Okay, thank you, Anissa. Mike, do you have anything to add to the staff report?
No, I don't think. I had a picture of the garage door, if you can see that. There's a dark brown garage door with the glass in it. Otherwise,
Can you share your screen?
oh, how do I do that? So you can't, I'm sorry, you can't see the picture there?
We do have reduced drawings that were
Okay.
submitted. Of course, they're in black and white.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So yeah, it's just it's basically a door as far as got the glass windows in it, otherwise matches the windows. Other than that, every other material just matches what's on the house. The stucco board, which is on the back of the garage, and the brick, the roofing, yeah, everything matches exactly.
Okay. There is an extended roof on the east elevation.
Correct.
It goes almost the entire length of the garage. Is that to cover up trash cans, or what is the purpose?
I believe a barbecue. It's just a little covered place to keep the barbecue so it doesn't get rained out as much, that type of thing.
Oh, okay. It looks like there is a turnaround between the house and the garage. I'm looking at sheet 3 of 3. I think that's the civil. Oh, site plan. Do you have that?
Yes.
Can a car really maneuver in a 3-point turn, or are they going to have to back out the entire length of the driveway?
I guess, I mean, obviously, I guess it depends on the size of the car. So, and I actually don't know what might drive. So, I mean, a small car certainly could. It depends. I mean, I don't think, I mean, a very large SUV probably would not be able to turn around there.
Okay, well, it looks tight. I have another question, and it's on that site plan on sheet 3 of 3. Since the new garage is essentially in the same footprint of the old garage that was demolished inadvertently, I assume that the drainage will not change. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, we spoke about the drainage when we reviewed the house, and at that time, the garage was to remain.
Yeah.
Well, let's go around and see if there are any other questions. Carolyn?
I had a question about the turnaround too, but I think that's kind of been answered. I also had a question about on 3 of 3, the detail SWPPP. Looking at it looks like that's the existing garage showing there. That looks a lot smaller than the other one, the new one. The existing was smaller, according to this drawing. Is that true, or?
I think they were, well, I think they were roughly about the same size.
A little bit larger, but see how
The staff report indicates the existing garage was 343 square feet and the new garage is 408. However, I took the larger appearance, Carolyn, including that extended roof line.
yeah, that's what I was going to ask if
Right.
if that is the case. It looks like that could be the case, and I was just mistaken, which is fine. That's all I had on it.
Okay, George? Helen?
Yes, Steve, you already asked about the roof overhang. My other question is about how will the stucco board be jointed?
Just the same way as on the house, with the 1x4 trim.
Okay, so it won't be on the rear elevation of the garage. It appears to be a true stucco, you know, no seams, no joints.
Oh, it's-
Where stucco board would have joints. I have it on my own garage, so I am familiar with it.
Yeah,
So you will be putting the battens on it similar to the house.
yes, yes.
Okay. No, it looks good. And I think you can turn back out of that garage and turn and go forward out of the driveway. It will be tight, but with the 16-foot wide door, you pick up a little bit of wiggle room. Again, I'm judging on my own, and the garage is about the same size, but it's two separate doors. So I don't have that extra bit of room to swing tightly.
Oh.
It will be tight. So looks good to me.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Ira?
I'm just curious about how do you end up demolishing an entire building, but like not have approval for such a move? How did that happen, Mike?
Mike Manlin told me one of his demolition guys was going to take the existing house, had a hot tub behind it, and he was going to take that, or basically Mike was trying to get rid of it, and he said, "Hey, can I take that?" Somehow, him trying to wiggle that out with the track hoe, he hit the corner of the existing garage and kind of partially collapsed the garage. So at that point, the decision was made, well, we can't leave this garage like this kind of thing. And so then the decision was made to, well, let's go ahead and take it down just for safety purposes. So.
But there was no consideration for coming back to this board for a demolition?
Well, oh, yes. I mean, I think by then we had submitted really, or the decision was made where he was going to put a new garage in. So we had submitted for that. So no, I think we were waiting for this meeting to happen in order to then, I guess, submit to technically get a demolition permit.
Oh, all right. I'm not sure that makes a whole lot of, sense in terms of what you needed to do, but I think the permit should have been applied for before the demolition, and then come to us for it. So, all right, but otherwise, I had a problem looking at the space between the garage and the house and how that was going to work with the turnaround. So you all talked about it. Otherwise, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Ira, I think that's a really good point, though, because now that I'm thinking about it, it's what if it was a tree, 36-inch tree, and they just, nipped it and took it down without any permit or anything. So that, we're kind of setting almost a precedent that they can go ahead and demo without doing that. So that would be my only concern with whatever. Well, besides the building getting demolished. Of course, I'm interested in the trees more. Sorry about that. But
That's fine. No. Trees, houses, garages, they're all important. So appreciate that.
Anissa, is there anyone else in the audience with a hand up?
There's not.
No. Okay. Any further comments? We have a recommendation to approve as submitted. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you're on the way, Mike.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Do we have anyone from 448 Edgewood yet?
Do not. I know that Susan tried to reach out to them, but she did not receive a response.
Okay. Well, then let's go on to 132 North Merrimack, assuming someone is here.
There's not anyone in the attendees list. Not quite sure
Oh,
what's going on tonight, but
well, it's not a holiday.
no.
Shortest meeting ever.
Well, we do have a little more to do.
Yeah,
Okay, I guess what we're going to need to do is, well, let's give them time. You know, it's only 15 minutes. Let's not table these to a future meeting. But we do have other business. And it's been changed from the agenda. I don't know if everyone got a notice about that. Bob Denlow could not be here, so his land use code general provisions will be held off for a future meeting. But Anissa kindly volunteered to give us a discussion on Chapter 400, Article 2, the City Plan Commission. So let me get my copy and I'll follow right along.
This will be a very short presentation, but hopefully a good follow-up to Carolyn's. Just give me one moment to share my screen. Okay, so I will be talking about Chapter 400, Article 2, which is the article about the City Plan Commission, essentially what it is and what the responsibilities of the Plan Commission are. So the purpose, essentially the Plan Commission exists to advise the Board of Aldermen on how to preserve and protect the community, to guide redevelopment, encourage high standards of design, and to encourage public participation. The code outlines specific powers in this article. Those are submitting a master plan for the development of the city to the Board of Aldermen, acting as a zoning commission and recommending changes to the zoning map to the Board of Aldermen, and holding public hearings for any amendments to the zoning ordinance. So we have a little picture in the middle there of the current downtown master plan. So one of the components of encouraging public participation is providing public notice. So on the screen, I have listed public hearings, what they are, and then the notice requirements. So public hearings, we haven't really had one in a while, but there are therefore rezonings, planned unit development districts, special development districts, and any general text amendments to the zoning ordinance. So there's a distinction in code between general text amendments and procedural text amendments. And it's kind of exactly as it sounds, anything that has to do with the procedural function of the Plan Commission doesn't necessarily require a public hearing, but if you are making changes to any section of the zoning code, that does. And I think the last public hearing we had was probably for Centene, the SDD, where they were adding the orthodontist office in their subdistrict 2A a couple months ago. So there are public notice requirements, and we as staff take care of all of these, but just so you're aware, at least 7 days prior to the date of the public hearing, we post notices in 5 public places, 2 on the property itself. So usually there's 1 at City Hall, 1 at the library, and 1 at either the county building or the city police building on Brentwood. At least 10 days prior to the date of the public hearing, mail notices are sent to all property owners within 200 feet. And then at least 15 days prior, there are 2 publications in a newspaper, which is the County. I realize I probably should have done these in the other order, but those are the notice requirements. And I just want to add that we do send out the agendas to all property owners within 200 feet as an extra step. So that's not a code requirement, but anytime something is on the Plan Commission or ARB agenda, those get sent out about a week in advance to all those property owners, even if it's not a public hearing. And then the makeup of the commission and more information on recommendations. So Plan Commission is made up of 7 members, one of whom is the city manager or designee, and one of whom is a member of the Board of Aldermen. And as far as recommendations, the Plan Commission recommends regulations to the BOA with regard to the character of the district, its suitability for uses, and encouraging the most appropriate land use. Recommendation to the Board of Aldermen is non-binding, but the affirmative vote of 5 Board of Aldermen members is required to adopt revisions that are contrary to the recommendation of the Plan Commission. I'm not sure if that has ever happened. Susan could probably shed a little bit more light on that if it has. But that's kind of the way that they can vote in a contrary manner to the recommendation of the PC. And that concludes my presentation. Very short article, but I also thought if you have any questions specifically on the Plan Commission, on your role, I can answer them, Susan can answer them, and yeah.
I think that was a great summation compared to the legal terms that are in the printed version. But I do have a question. At the very end, section 400.100 is the meetings and records. Could you describe how those are maintained and how they can be pulled up, I would assume electronically in today's world?
So we do have the minutes that are always made available on the city's website. From my understanding, the recordings of the Zoom meetings go to the city's YouTube page. And if people ask for the specific link, I'm always happy to share that as well. I'm not sure how often the YouTube page is updated. Last time I looked, it was a couple meetings behind, but we always maintain the records for anyone who wants to watch or listen.
Okay. And then a question to everyone else on the Plan Commission. Do you all have E-code 360 on your computer where you can pull up any one of the code requirements at any time? If you don't, you should have it because it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's E-code 360?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Never
I
heard.
can send you the website if you need it. It's not an app. You have to go on whatever Safari or whoever you use, download it, and then save it to your home screen.
Sounds great. I'd love to use it. If you could send me that, Steve, I'd love that.
Sure. Anyone else? Everyone else has it. Great.
At the
Okay.
last meeting, when you mentioned it, I pulled it down. So the last
Good.
time I heard, yeah.
Okay.
Also, you can, this is through general code that publishes the ordinance, and you can also get a username and password since the city of Clayton has their ordinances published through general code. And that will allow you to do multi-city or multi-state searches. So if you are looking to see maybe how another city regulates a certain land use or has or provides, for regulation of something pertaining to the commission's business, you could do that. But you do need, in order to do that multi-city or multi-state search, you do need a username and password.
And how do we get that?
I would either Susan or Anissa, you could talk to June and see if they could, and see if she could contact general code. And then it's usually your username is usually your email, and then you can set up your password, once you're designated by general code as a Clayton official. But then that gives you any general code client across the nation, you can go ahead and search their codes using just keywords.
Wow.
Thank you. Okay.
I have a question.
Ira?
So one of your slides was very clear about the fact that the city manager and an alderman are represented on the planning commission. So I've got a couple of questions. One is, do you have any ideas about why the city manager is on the plan commission, but we don't technically have anyone from our planning department that's on the commission.
Well, I believe the city manager is included in the city code. I may have the wrong term, Stephanie.
Well, it's in the charter, and
In
so
the charter, yes.
in the charter, and so I've known this, but I just thought I'd throw this out to you guys to see if I can get some feedback also, because I mean, I do have some ideas, but I'd like to hear from others about what they think of that as a policy for the board.
Well, Ira, I think you knew where I stand on that.
Right.
I do have a little problem. I've shared that with our current and our previous city managers, that I see potential conflicts of interest. And let me just leave it at that.
That's fine. No, that's fine. Right. I mean, I think, that's the plan commission. That's, what it is right now, but that doesn't have to be. There could be changes made that make maybe more sense for the actual commission. So anybody have any ideas? I know what Steve feels. Go ahead.
Well, we did look a couple of years ago how that could be changed, and it would require a vote on the charter.
Right.
And the Board of Aldermen, or the then mayor, and I believe the current mayor, felt that we should not try to have an election of that being the one and only charter change.
Right.
And if there would be several items that would be up for revision, that might be a proper time. But of course, it would have to be decided by the Board of Aldermen what goes on that election.
Correct. I was just trying to, at this point, see if anyone had an opinion about how this plan commission should be made up. And, and I agree that there's some problems with getting it to happen, but it would be great to think about what would be the perfect. And Stephanie, you might have some ideas just based on your experience with other municipalities and the makeup of those plan commissions.
Well,
Right.
it's my guess that probably the drafters of the charter looked at the state statute, which specifically says for plan commission, you can have between 5 and 13 members. And then usually the mayor or the chief executive officer is on the commission along with a member of the legislative body. So that's in the actual state statute. I am sure that the framers of the charter looked at that and probably took cues from that.
So Stephanie, that if I understood that correctly, that's how the city manager position got written into our charter.
That's what I would bet, because when the drafters of the charter were looking at this, most of the executive authority rests with the city manager, and so that's why they chose the city manager over the mayor, which is what is normally done. And the statute provides for that, and the drafters of the charter probably thought that, well, most of this authority rests with the city manager, so we're gonna put that person on instead of the mayor.
Okay.
That's just my guess.
In those requirements, does it say, or did you say that the members have to be residents of the city?
Yeah, so there's well, under the state statute, yes, they should be. There is some language in there, though, that I've actually used, where we were having, in a small city, we were having trouble getting people who would be willing to serve on the plan commission. And so we drafted our ordinance to allow somebody who actually owned and operated a business where they could sit on the commission. But I would say first and foremost, if you have residents and you have plenty of residents who are willing to serve, I would choose residents over, over trying to do something to bring in, business owners or other stakeholders.
I had heard that some other jurisdictions had non-resident members, but now I probably understand why.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for that at all. I think we have a sufficient population that we should be able to draw from. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Or within the language itself, as far as the makeup of the citizen portion, I did not hear anything about wards. Is it specifically written somewhere that we're supposed to be representative of each of the different wards that we have?
There's nothing in that article about specific wards.
Historically, I believe we tried to keep it as 2, 2, and 1 for the 5 citizen seats. With that, one ward. The next time it would go up to 2. It would be a rotating thing. But I believe in the past couple of years we've just gotten away from that, and we've
Okay.
looked for the quality of the individual to bring onto the board.
That came up when I moved, and that's why I was asking as well. So I moved out of one ward to another, and Carolyn and I are across the street from each other. So it's kind of unusual the way that my move.
George, I wondered if that would come up from one of you, but no. Actually, if you consider Ira, he's in Ward 2 also, but he's the aldermanic rep.
Right. I mean, we're very heavy on High Down Forest right now. Is there a reason why we should not get in there and at least have a 1-1-1, each of the wards having one representative specifically?
Actually, I thought it should go the other way and be 2-2-2.
2-2-2.
If we
provides
wanted
the
to
flexibility. The
Yeah.
1-1-1 provides the flexibility to me that if there's a qualified individual, from another ward, that you could do a minimum of one representative of each ward. I think it would be beneficial to make sure that we're always carrying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that does make sense. There should always be someone from each ward, and then go beyond that as necessary. The other thing, I believe does it say, Stephanie, something about an architect and/or an engineer being on there? Because we've always tried to have at least one person representing the building trades.
I'll have Susan or Anissa, if you know about the ordinance, let me know that. But the state statute doesn't have that. I know that is key for the usually the Building Board of Appeals, where building permits, those kinds of issues would go. But there might be something in ordinance, or certainly there might be something in the state statute about the knowledge or expertise in the areas that are under consideration.
I'm
Susan?
looking it up now.
Okay. Yeah, I could pull that up, but it's going to take a second.
Well, while you're pulling it up, years ago, we had 2 architects, 1 engineer, 1 construction person, 1 developer. I think that were the 5 seats. And it was very interesting because we did not just have a citizen on there that did not carry one of those titles or work experiences. I think we're doing much better today.
A little difficulty pulling it up for Clayton. I don't know why. I can let you know. I don't recall offhand. But I know historically we've tried to get representatives from, as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, representatives from the building trade, architect, landscape architect,
Mhm.
and then citizens as well. If I can find it. It won't come up.
Well, that could be something that we could just bring up at the next meeting
Okay,
also.
yeah, I looked at the ordinance and for sure on architectural review board, at least one member needs to be, and let me go back to that, needs to be a registered architect. Now this is architectural review board. I looked at that first. And it does say that, at least, so 5 residents, in addition to the city manager and a member of the Board of Aldermen, at least one member shall be a registered architect. Now, let me go back to Plan Commission. That's Architectural Review Board. For Plan Commission, it says, the 5 members shall be residents of the city qualified by knowledge or experience to act on questions pertaining to the development of a city plan, and then it goes into their appointment. So there it's based on knowledge or experience for Plan Commission, and on ARB, at least one member shall be an architect.
Well, since we have the same components on both the board and the commission, then there would be a registered architect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that language just isn't in the Plan Commission ordinance, but it does, the Plan Commission ordinance does reference the knowledge and experience. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so those two qualifications then would apply to both effectively.
Mhm.
Was there any mention in there about having the same components on both, so it's really one meeting as we do it, or if the 2 boards should be separate, the board and the commission rather?
Well, it creates them separately, but let's see. Let's take a look.
It actually says, it just says may be held in conjunction with the regularly scheduled meetings of the City Plan Commission or at any other time deemed necessary by the chairperson. So it gives you the option to hold them at different times.
Mhm. The reason I ask is some other jurisdictions hold them as separate meetings. And in talking with someone in a different jurisdiction, it turns out that our process may move the projects through more quickly because there's a time lag if it's approved in one and then has to go to the other. Where
Well,
we
we
can do
do-
them concurrently.
Yeah, we do identify them on the agenda as separate boards.
Mhm.
So each agenda item is titled, if you see under item type on your staff report, it'll say architectural review. And then I don't have a site plan, but the intent is that we identify them as separate bodies looking at separate items for the code and performing two different requirements for each board, but being the same people.
Mhm.
We do have to explain that a lot to people. They don't quite get that.
Well, I think if you would tell them it speeds up the process, they might understand it then.
Nobody seems to have a problem with it. They just don't seem to understand that it's the same people wearing two different hats in the same meeting, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, any other questions on the City Plan Commission following up Anissa's presentation?
I will bring up that, there is some inconsistency here on this board as far as that ward requirement compared to at least the Sustainability Advisory Board. And I know that it's a little bit more, this board's a little bit different than some of these other ones, but the Sustainability Advisory Board requires 2 members from each ward, period. And, we don't even mention wards here. Public art, I don't see it in public art, but I do wonder if we should have a minimum representation of 1 from each ward.
George, I believe we always have had at least 1 from each ward, and then 2 of the wards have an additional 1, and those 2 rotate.
Yeah, and I think that if it's not written into the code, that it's not always available. I mean, I think it should be written as opposed to an always have had. I agree with you. Since I've been on this, there's always been reputation across the board, but I think it needs to be in writing.
Well, I think that's a good idea. We'll probably leave it up to Stephanie and our staff to figure out how to do that. And I don't see any additional participants for tonight. So I think we need to go back and determine whether old business item 1 and new business item 2 should be tabled to a future meeting.
I move that those 2 items be tabled for another meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move them to a future meeting. And while we're talking about future meeting, let's all remember that our next meeting is on a Tuesday, October 19th, 2 weeks and 1 day from tonight. And I believe we cleared it that there was no other conflict. So, Carolyn, any further comments tonight?
Should we just keep this material then until the next meeting, so you don't have to copy it all again?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. No, I
Thank
didn't.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, George,
No further comments. Thank you.
Helen?
One comment, I'm wondering, Anissa, you sent out an email today about the new format for the application. Did you get any responses from any of us?
I did get a response from Steve with some good formatting tips. Like I said in the email, working with CitizenServe to try to get something that's a lot nicer looking than what was sent, but they need very specific directions. Just take some time to wiggle through that process with them. So any feedback is welcome. Be as critical as you need to be, and I'll work on getting that taken care of.
Okay.
Anissa, I neglected to say, I hope they can fix the Clayton logo up at the top also.
Yes. Yes.
The one thing
Make it pretty, please.
as I was reading was that it's hard to distinguish between what is being asked, the question and the answer. So it all kind of blends together, especially when you have those short answers, brick, no, siding, no. It just, it's difficult to sort it out. So if one were in bold and the other one was not in bold, then you could quickly see which was which.
And Helen, that's what I pointed out, that the topic or the question should be in bold. And then the answer should either be not bold, adjacent to it, or below it and indented. So you can find all the questions or topics. But I'm sure there are other items. I just quickly responded. I had nothing else to do today.
I think Anissa's comment on making it readable really kind of was like, yes, please do.
Well, let's see. George, did you have anything else?
No, thank you.
Helen?
No,
No? Ira?
Just one comment, Anissa, thank you so much for your summaries. You know, the meetings have been much, much shorter as a result. So I appreciate that. Of course, the fact that the agendas are a little smaller, but I think the fact that you've summarized the reading of these items has been, I think, very helpful. And I appreciate your brevity, so thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Susan, any further thoughts?
I have a couple of things, a couple you already touched on. I just wanted to let you know, in the past, you had gotten correspondence sometimes from Kelly Abashan, who really was associated with the building division. She's no longer with the city. So I just want to let you know that. And then I just wanted to let the Plan Commission know that Friday before last, I've been on vacation for a week, so today's my first day back, but Friday before last, the steering committee met with H3 Studios, and we walked downtown Clayton, just mostly on Beamiston, up Forsyth and down Central and Merrimack, talking about the setback issue and the outdoor dining challenges that this Plan Commission had brought up the last time we met on the proposed ordinance for the revisions to the downtown overlay. So it took, it was H3's suggestion that we just kind of meet in person and walk those areas of the city so we could see it kind of in use and in real life. And I thought Steve, chime in if you wish. I thought we had a pretty good discussion, and being able, we had tape measures out there and we're measuring sidewalks and dining areas and setbacks and the best we could. And I do think the folks on the steering committee walked away with a better understanding of some of the pros and cons associated with potentially having a setback requirement of 6 feet or some articulation or percentage of articulation, and then the challenges associated with doing outdoor dining and outdoor programming on our sidewalks in kind of a narrow space, and then obviously the challenges associated with widening sidewalks, if that's a possibility for the future. So I just, as soon as that meeting was over that afternoon, I left and I've been gone, so I haven't mapped out next steps. I suspect we'll probably have one more meeting of the steering committee just to discuss what we saw, and then I would forward their recommendation and their comments to the Plan Commission, and to kind of pick up where we left off with that ordinance, because I think that 6-foot setback was the last remaining issue on the ordinance. So that's a quick summary of what we did, and I will reach out to John and Tim and see if they can join us in a quick meeting with the steering committee and get things rolling again.
Okay.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for that summary and the update.
Sure. Welcome.
Anissa,
That's all
any?
I've got.
Susan, were you finished?
I am, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep, thank you.
Sorry. Anissa?
To talk about the next presenter at next week's meeting with these 2 items being tabled and what we have so far, we're looking at 6 agenda items. So I'll coordinate with Susan and reach out to whoever is the lucky target, I guess. Will probably be a shorter article. So if Bob will be available for that meeting, if not, George, you're probably next as far as a topic that can fit on an agenda of that size.
Thanks for the heads up.
Okay, thank you. Stephanie?
I don't have anything further this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Well, since we've already tabled 2 of our 3 items, I guess the meeting is about to conclude. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you on Tuesday, the 19th. Stay well, and we'll see you then. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Night.